from yesterday's stream. Let's hopefully everything's working. I had to reconnect to Restream, so just waiting to see if YouTube picks up and everything else. So far I'm not seeing a notification. There we go. Okay, I think we're... Whoa, that's pretty loud. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, we're live. And everything's go. So yeah, I had to, I guess the token expired for the Restream service, and I think that might be the reason we got an interruption in the stream last night. Anyway, hopefully yesterday whoever watched saw that your system's only as good as your requirements. And we had some made up stuff that we are going to correct here. For example, this already registered shouldn't rely on this, right? This could be something entirely different. That's totally fine. That should still say that you have already registered. This registration ID is issued when you try to register. So you really will never have a collision here. It's one of those UUID colliding with another UUID. You just don't code for that. And so unless, I mean, there's some extreme cases where you need to not rely on these not colliding, but that's not for this discussion. So that is the proper test here. We got rid of some other tests that were superfluous here. And I think just having the name being the same is what we'll do. So that's kind of where we left off last time. We had a whole bunch of things not working because of it. So we also did rename some things like registration ID, conference ID. So there's a whole bunch of these fields that we need to make consistent across the board, especially in the events. You know, like yeah, because I'm actually noticing that the AI is looking at the XML of the draw IO, and so it's throwing some red herrings and something that should be going a lot smoother. Now, giving it really good credit, it isn't as distracted as I thought it would be with naming anomalies that we have. And I guess, like, as we're going through this, we're thinking of, you know, better names. So right here we have you know, participant registered, and we really said that it's just registered, and we have a registration ID and a conference ID, right? So we already have you know, a better way of saying this that would make it a little bit easier to understand. This is also a case where a case against test-driven development, because I found that, oh, I'm gonna just have, you know, these requirements of having this unique sort of ID here for my registration, etc. It kind of led me down a garden path that I coded for things that wouldn't happen, and sometimes it's actually better, especially if you have a design that is by the slice highly decoupled, like these slices, these vertical bars are highly independent from one another. So here we don't really need to worry about one test at a time. We can go with implementation first and then cover things with tests later. It's really this addition to the history that's the most important. It eclipses the importance of the tests. In fact, the tests did get in the way. Like, I'm happy to really just remove the tests and manually test this out. And the reason I'm not scared of manual testing is because once it's working, adding more functionality if you're doing event modeling and event sourcing properly, will not require you to go and revisit work that's already done. This is why this code maintenance is a totally different animal in these types of systems. And so I'm a lot more confident in a system like this that even if I don't have any tests, I'm quite certain that I'm not going to go in and have to change the code that I wrote for this piece of work here later on. The coupling has been really shifted to multiple model type of approach where these events are the source of truth and they're highly immutable and you are doing additive only. So there's none of this spinning plates circus act of trying to keep everything in flux all the time and everything going real time. It's yeah, you kind of have a really tall order to keep refactoring the whole thing over and over again and keeping all of the tests in sync with the implementation. That's just, you know, I've gone through that whole TDD thing in my career, and it's not as advertised. Let's just say, no matter how good you get at it, you're always going to have you know, people on your teams that are not as good at it or have a different opinion on the level of scope for your refactoring or the type of abstraction to use, and you know, they want to push it a different way. And yes, theoretically, the tests themselves will push to the minimal one, but in reality, the humans just ruin it. It's not as mathematical as the proponents would advertise it. You know, as they're advertising it as a very methodical, disciplined thing. Yes, there's discipline to work this cyclical way, iterative way, but in terms of what you are doing in those cycles, it's all over the place, from person to person. So it's just it ends up being a nightmare, and sometimes it becomes a nightmare for yourself too. Like you know, I wrote this test yesterday, and it wasn't it wasn't the best. So I want to just go straight into here and change this. Oh, you're already registered, so I want to change this to match what I put in here, where I have you're already registered. So I want to use this ID here that I used in this part. And I'm going to do that. And so the reason I change this is because, again, this will always be a different registration ID. If we look at the implementation, you know, we can't really compare this now. It really should compare the name. Sometimes I already registered for this conference, so registration conference ID has, and then I should do name, right? Command.name. I don't know. Registrations, conference ID. This is kind of a weird implementation. I really didn't want this implementation. I didn't want it to have to track previous registrations. So I think I'm gonna gut the AI generated thing here. I'm just gonna have kind of what I was writing earlier. It replaced everything here. So, you know, if we have, yeah, what do we have in our accumulator before? Let's get rid of all this because we've had, let's just say the conference ID, and it can be null. Registration ID is not what we want. We want the names. So we want the the names of just sure, let's have a new set of the names. And I think that's all that we need to do everything. Because when we get a closed event, we just need to do the conference ID as null, right? So we can do conf null, right? So that's all we do when we close the event. We just erase the fact that there's a conference ID in effect right now. If we have a registered event, we need to, and also when we have a closed event, we need to reset any names. So AC names just gets reset. Okay, so as we're going through the history of everything that's happened, when we hit a registration is closed, anything that we accumulated is a blank slate. Like I can register with my name again later for another conference. So we need to basically reset our accumulator to be default. So every time we hit a closed event on our timeline, we know to restart. And this is actually one of the nice pieces of coding this way, is that it's very easy to walk through the scenarios instead of trying to figure out what values and what columns and what tables need to be aligned for things to work, right? I can really focus in on just the business events that have happened on a timeline, and case by case basis adjust what I think the state is, right? And I can have tests to kind of, like I showed yesterday, not very well, but I did, how you would do that. So the previous tests that we did were a lot smoother. We had some bad assumptions here about how this was going to work. So, and so if we have a registration event, a registered event, we need to add that name. But first of all, we need to see if, you know, there could be a situation where a unique generated event, this thing, unique ID generated, we have to rename this to be an, you know, again, I really feel like I should close down this sprint and just clean up the naming. Just it's all over the place. So, but anyway, we know that this unique ID generated is for conferences. It should be named as such. But you know, here's the thing. What happens when we have a closed conference, yet there's a registration on the timeline? Somehow it got in, right? We basically can't track that. We have to ignore it, right? So, you know, we basically say, okay, if the accumulator conf ID is null for some reason, then we just break, because we don't want to listen to this registration event. That would have somehow gotten in there, but it wouldn't have been part of the maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I'm not thinking of all the possible paths here, but I think if I see a registered event, and we either have not opened something or whatever, then we have, you know, let's get rid of these comments too. We don't need these. I think they might give the wrong impression of what's going on here. And here, the registered event, yeah, we don't register anything. And then here we have names. Otherwise, we have names. And then here, event. So in that registered event, we pull out the name. And we add the name to the set. Okay, and that should be it for that. Again, this history reduce is really looking at, you know, what happened in the past and to see if we can actually process this command successfully. Because depending what state the system is in on the events that have happened. We can accept or reject the command, and we accept it by just adding another event to the list of events. So I think that should be fine. If we don't have a conference that's active, obviously the registration is just going to get ignored. It's some by mistake that it got in there. We do handle it, although, you know, this shouldn't occur, right? This should not happen. And we don't want to throw any exceptions on how we're seeing the past. Like, I don't want to just fail on everything, because that makes the system brittle. If for some reason there was some issues with how events got stored, and maybe we scaled the system with multiple instances running at the same time, and we got into a situation where, you know, this registration closed event happened to be being written at the same time as someone registering, and the eventual consistency got us, I kind of want to just ignore it, you know. That's it. Do we assume, or do we assume that this was, you know, if someone registered after something was closed, that they registered for the next one coming up? That's probably a lot worse, right? Ignoring it is a lot better in terms of just letting this fall through. So let's see what we have here. Oh, actually, I have something to show you guys. I got something in the mail I gotta open up. So hold on a second. I think I should do that right now. Okay, I'm back. Pretty exciting. In Canada here, we had a postal strike over the holidays. Yeah, they certainly know when to pull a strike. So none of the Christmas cards got anywhere, or any other gifts. But one of the things that I forgot about because of this postal strike. So, yeah, I guess Martin is probably asleep right now. Or maybe not. Maybe he's still awake if he's watching. I'm not sure. But he's the author of this book, Understanding Event Sourcing. So if you want to understand what I'm doing here, get this book on LeanPub. There are links there on eventmodeling.org to go to LeanPub and buy it. I wrote the foreword for it, and I'm really happy that he put in all this work to, you know, use event modeling within you know, within the context of event sourcing to show how it works. So here's a nice cart example, shopping cart example. You're gonna probably pull this up on LeanPub and just share it on the screen. But anyway, it's really awesome to have this in print, and we're kind of excited to have the Amazon physical copies of these books. And so Martin was kind enough to send me an autographed copy. So thank you, Martin. This is amazing. Adam, you started this all. Thanks for your help. Well, he didn't need any help. He did a fine job doing all the hard work himself, experimenting and coming up with a lot of the same conclusions myself and others in the community did. But it took you know, a lot of determination and hard work to put together this book, and it's not, you know, it's not a trivial book. It's fairly thick. It's 500 pages. Not that it's a small font or anything. There's a lot of pictures, so you know, you can kind of know what's going on by just seeing a lot of examples. So don't let the 500 pages scare you. As you can see, there's only like a couple of paragraphs on these 2 pages because there's you know, a lot of illustrations. So yeah, I need books with pictures, right? I'm kind of childish that way, so this is good for visual and other learners. So you know, I'm doing this given when then stuff right now, so that's explained here too. So yeah, this just came in the other day. I forgot, I was so busy, I forgot to open up the package, but then I go, oh yeah, this came in with a bunch of other packages. Because all of a sudden you open up your mailbox and you have, you know, 50 letters in there because the postal strike is over. And so the queues of letters you're supposed to get, I missed paying some visas and other things like that. So it's not good. I'm sure others are in other trouble with maybe not getting their tax forms in time or something like that. But anyway, thank you, Martin, for the autograph book. I will treasure this and keep it on my shelf here for reference as my personal book that I will hold on to. So here's a nice picture on the back. That's Martin. And yeah, do check out the book to learn this way of developing. It's a lot of fun. And notice that all the trouble that I went through yesterday of things not working, the previous functionality was fine, right? A lot of times when you break things in a traditional system, because the different type of coupling that you have, you kind of, you know, topple the house of cards. And that's because these side effects are rampant. In here, we're highly constrained to these vertical slices of functionality. So yeah, hopefully you're following along. And I think right now we made a test that makes a lot more sense. So let's continue on in here. And I don't care if I'm fixing a fail test or not. I really don't want to do this TDD stuff. I'll just get the tests working whatever way I want. I'll get the functionality to do what I want, and I'll double check things with, you know, running the actual application to make sure things are running. And I think that's a real good way to work with event sourcing, because yeah, it's you know, it's adhering to this open close principle. Once something is working, anything you're adding is kind of on new areas of the application where you're not going to have to revisit things as often anyway as with traditional stuff. So so yeah, here we have the we add the event name. So I guess when we have a registered event, this could be any number of users, and we just track the names so that we can say, hey, we already have someone of this name if you're trying to register. You know, we're probably, your registration is going to, like, if you have eventual consistency problem, like 2 people are trying to do it at the very exact same time, one of them is going to win, and then the other person is going to go, what the heck, things are not working, they're going to go try and register again. They're going to get the error the second try around and say that, oh, someone already has my name, so I have to put maybe my full name or my initial or whatever. And that's, you know, that's kind of how things go. So then we have this unique ID generated event. This is when we actually open up the registration. That's when we start to track, you know, everything's associated with this conference ID here. And in fact, I should just do, instead of unique ID, I should do a mass search replace and just put, you know, conference ID generated. Although I don't want to deal with potential, actually I probably won't have any merge conflicts. All of that stuff is already in pieces that have been finished, so we probably won't have anything. Let's be brave and you know, let's do a search replace across this whole thing. Replace in files, and see there's quite a bit of them, right? Even in the event modeling. Oh, that's kind of cool. So it'll actually even change it there, which is good. So instead of unique ID generated, we want to say conf conference ID generated. All right, and this Brave refactoring, I still haven't updated cursor. I really feel like I should. Where's the button to go? Replace all. Okay, so replace all. Okay. Files to include, files to exclude. So we have this. We have our actual events, which is cool. Yeah, let's replace them all. Yes, replace, please. Okay. Let's see. After that, let's just see what we broke. Tests. Right. Oh yeah, look at that. Actually, not a lot of. We only have. Oh, we also have this. Oh, so we only have our latest stuff here. The latest slice. I should throw correct error message, right? So, okay. We obviously don't have this done yet. So check if registration is closed first. So we don't need to do this. That's going to throw. Obviously, this is you know, we basically have if what do we have? Registration state. Yeah, registration state conference is null. Then we do that, and we really, first of all, we don't need to. We know what's going on. This code is readable, right? If there is no conference, it hasn't been obviously created. I don't want multiple lines. I hate this real estate, like this obsession with white space and code for readability is ridiculous. You have to think about the real estate you're taking up. I don't want to have to scroll up and down to get the gist of what's going on. I need to see, like, yeah, these are 3 reasons things can fail here. I know I'm throwing in each one of them. I don't need 50 lines of code to scroll through to say no conference ID found, right? So I don't need this because, okay, so registration state conference ID, registration is closed. And then we need to say there's no active conferences. So I don't really need this one. What are the other types of failures that we have? We can basically say, okay, so we really don't have this one. I don't think we have this one anymore. We kind of erased that, or maybe I'm missing another one. I don't need this finally thing. Get rid of these suggestions. I can throw this "you're already registered." That's fine. And in here, I just need to basically say names, and this should be command name. Is that what it is? Names? Yeah, names. Okay, yeah, we don't want. So here we're just checking if our set names has this name. And if it does, then we throw, right? Otherwise, we actually get, this this particular registration for this particular name. We got a timestamp, and this is our event, registered event. That looks good. So now if we run it, we still have failing tests. Should throw correct error message. Okay, so we don't have the correct error messages. Let's go and check what our error messages are like here. So our error message registration is closed. Exception, no conference. So this should say registration is closed. We're not. Okay, that's our we're not going to say conference ID doesn't exist, right? We're just going to say registration is closed if we don't have, or do we also have, I think there's one more thing. If conference ID goes null, conference ID is null, or we're trying to registration state. And .conf ID doesn't equals the command, right? So we just say you're looking for some other conference. It's not open yet, or it's passed. It's just not open. I think that's all we do in this case. We do need to also change this to say registration is closed. So we're using these two. This makes it a simpler implementation, right? And once you have good specs, you should be able to auto-generate. Yeah, so we only have two types of exceptions, and so we're only throwing these two types of exceptions here, right? I might want to have this on a separate line just so it has the throw here, and these kind of align, which is more readable. So if it's null, or we have the conference ID not matching, then whatever, it's closed. Could say doesn't exist or not in effect or something more generic, but we don't care. We're happy enough with this UX. Again, this is something that's not gonna be the main UX experience. The main UX experience is things go as planned. And then of course, we already registered. So those are the only things that we really want to look for. And then if those pass, then we do this. Let's just double check that we're reacting to these. So if someone's registered, we, obviously, we're assuming we don't have to check the conference name in those events. Those are already accepted. So they already came through this check. So we don't have to, we're not replaying business rules for how these events came into effect. So hopefully that makes sense for you, that you don't have to repeat your business rules for how these events got in, but you want to kind of interpret for yourself what you make of these things happening in this context. So we really just want to add this is wrong as well. So good thing we went up here. Of course, this is going to have a problem. So we don't have closed conferences. If a conference ID generated event, then we have, we're basically saying that we have a new conference starting. So we don't need to have any if statements here. This is probably why we're breaking. We just do conf ID is in fact this conference ID. And we reset the names. So that's a good suggestion. Right. I don't know why it wants to delete that. But if the command doesn't have the proper conference ID that's currently open, or the conference ID is null, then we say registration is closed. So yeah, otherwise, if the conference ID matches to the one that's open right now, then it's good. So this is kind of like the accumulator ignoring previous conferences that were open and closed, right? Notice that, the minute that we have a closed event, we reset. And so that means we can't register. And also when we have a new conference ID generated, we set the conference ID and we create a new set just in case, right? And that's it. That's the only way that we do that. So then we have a whole bunch of registrations that happen in a row. and we do that. And then we can also make some, I was thinking about this, we have some fake events that we make for testing a specific slice, but we also want to maybe make some fake events to set up the environment, to kind of set up the system in a way that already goes through all the functionality that we did in the previous sprint, for example, and shows that part of the system as having some state in case we need to reference it. So we'll get into some more, scenarios. So right now we have fake events that have that are made for. Let me just tell you what I'm searching for. What I'm talking about here is these fake events. So right now we have like, okay, if I want to test this join conference functionality, I have these fake events I can put in here so that when I run the solution, it does what it needs. And same if I'm playing around with the rooms, adding and deleting page, I have some fake events so that when I run that particular, when I run the solution, go to that particular URL, I have some data there that I can experiment with, right? And same with these other ones. But these are focused on one vertical slice of the workflow. What I really want is something like fake events, and then underneath here have a directory called scenarios, and in there you could have, maybe we can flatten it a little bit, so you can say something like open conference ready for registration scenario. So when you go to the registration page, it's already in that state. It's kind of like a very explicit way of doing a database restore in a traditional system, but here you explicitly can see, all the events that got you there, kind of like having access to the transaction log of your database, right? So let's see how far we got. Did we make any tests pass? I really, oops. Okay, we got one. So we got, well, actually we got 3 tests passing now, right? We still have 3 that failed. Should throw correct error message. So should reject duplicate registration due to, okay, yeah. So let's take a look at our test. It's probably our test that's wrong in terms of how we wrote it. And this would be our third test. So we have the first test here, second test here, and our third test here. So exception error, no request found. So conf ID request. Okay, that's the one that we don't actually have anymore. So we have these, we don't need this here. I do not like the fact that we have, yeah, that we don't have these, yeah, no request found. That's for that one. I think that's fine. That's providing the unique ID. I don't like that we have, yeah, sorry, third test here. I went to the wrong test suite here. I want these as constants. I don't want this to be text that I go through here, and this is, this has to be above the function. So kind of like, yeah, and if you have some of these conventions, it's easy to add them in the pre-prompts. Sorry, like in the config of the cursor can have a cursor file where you can have some of these configurations, and you can add prompts to say that here's how I do my errors, and I need to have them as consts above the function that throw them, or something like that. And so, here we can do that. All right, okay, already registered. Our registration closed are already, yeah. I think that's better. And here we can also do that. Should throw correct error. Do we have another exception here? Should allow, should reject. Okay, caught error. There, good. And then here again, that's the last exception. Timeline registration is closed. Yeah, this should also use that. Perfect. That's our test runner down here. We don't need to change that. So let's see, did that? No. To throw correct error message. Our assertion on the third test is still probably not matching what our implementation is. So that is our first test, second test, third test here. Should throw correct message. Already registered. Okay, why is that? And this, oh, let's use the not equal. This is a weird test. So it has the caught error. All it should be doing is, okay, no, should throw an error. And then it should, yes, assert equal. Okay, so let's just see. This should give us a more verbose test here now. Expected, you already registered, but God cannot read properties of. Okay, so we have an implementation. Cannot read properties of undefined. So we have an implementation problem. And actually, if I scrolled up here, I should really find, you know, where that is, right? We have a lot. I really want to get rid of some of these event stream replays in here. We have too much to history reduce, array, add. So probably some issues with this history here, where we have a whole bunch of registered stuff. Oh, actually, no, it shouldn't. Has nothing to do with this directory. Sorry, this is all just tests. We are feeding in the history of different things. So where do we have the add? Names, new set, registered names. Oh, this. Yeah, names add. Yeah, so I don't need that, of course. That's better. There, okay. That was the bug. So we're back to passing all our tests. We can, I guess, now test generating a new ID and instead of this fake one. We're getting 5566. Did we just... I think we ran with the fake events. So let's run the solution and just generate the conf ID. So we have a proper one. So create a conference. Oh, error. Well, that's interesting. Oh, we didn't have a request found. Oh, interesting. Unique ID requested event. Conference ID generated event. Okay, let's see why that's failing. This is interesting because it's part of that rename, I think, where interesting. Yeah, so that rename did screw up our to-do list implementation. Let's just correct that. Because this is where this we're cramming this refactoring as part of this feature, which is going to cause some problems. potentially. So there's a conf ID, generated unique ID. Where do we have that? Look for existing IDs. There's the request. Generate unique ID. Provide unique ID. Yeah, this conf ID. I think we have it as conference ID. Ah, unique ID requested event. I think we need to have conference ID requested. I think that should fix it. Let's have a go at that. Yeah, no request found. Yeah, the last one should be that. Or is it just that the previous, I see, filtered events. If we're filtering, oh, right, because we just provided them conference name set, unique ID, request, conference ID generated. It might just be this weird state because some of these, let's see if we can do this again. It's something worth fixing. So create error generating. So, okay, it has this. Conference ID generated. And it's giving us generating unique ID, no conference ID request found. And here it should have the last things that it has. So if events, that's not true, or events last item of type is unique ID requested event. But it's working, and then it's getting kicked off again. So there's something else going on. We're getting a double. Yeah, if I go here again, so it works, but then it does an extra thing. So there we have, again, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so 18. And if I go back, create another one, we get these two more. So it does create them, but it's giving me this error needlessly. Providing unique ID, whatever, generated unique ID, but then it's providing another one to the system. Why is that doing that? Generate unique ID is getting probably kicked off. That getting called generate unique ID. Right here. So the processor it looks at the history. GenConf ID processor. I don't know if this is the best implementation for the processors now. they should really act like the other ones. So maybe we should round count. Okay. Is it because of these ones? These old ones, right? Conf ID processor looking for requests. Log. Let's see. So in the to do, okay, conf IDs. Okay, so this thing should not have another, yeah. I think that's the problem here. I'm looking for conf IDs in. So we have, okay, so it does find one that it has to make one in here. And another one here. Okay, so one of the things that we did is short circuit this thing so that it keeps adding previous conference IDs to these, but we have a weird history of stuff that just makes these artifacts come in. And so, yeah, this is it's doing the correct thing. Like it has the request and all that, but it's getting confused with all of this. So if we, I want to have a better answer for this. It's the fact that the projections off of these weird random events that should never really occur in this, especially with this conference unique ID request here twice. Those should not occur. And we were testing the slices. That's what happened. So I kind of don't want to test for this. I mean, I could say, you know, looking for conf requests in, and okay, so it doesn't find any if it's 0, or the last one doesn't equal, which is correct. So at some point it's looking at you can have access to all of the videos. There, so someone's asking if you can see all the videos for this. I've started this from scratch in December. So if you look at the code in the Git repo, you'll see all of this, and the videos are on live stream. So I haven't coded any of this off the live stream. Everything that's coded here has been done live. So if you just go to the YouTube channel, the history, but if you go to the channel and click on the streams tab, you'll see all of the previous streams there. So you can rewind through it. But yeah, I'd like to make this a little more resilient, because even though we'll never have this history with these requests coming in one after the other, like these duplicate ID requests, I'd like to ignore them. So I could probably update the tests to kind of show that situation occurring. See, like, you know, this duplicate request should be ignored, right? It's passing, but the processor isn't doing that. So that's pretty interesting. And then so we have this processor throwing this error, provide unique ID. We have this history. So this should just be history. And we're looking for all of these types. No request found. So it's really about this probably getting kicked off twice. So providing unique ID for that error. Now it's looking and it's doing that. Providing unique ID, generated unique ID. Okay, so that's correct. But then it's trying to provide another one. So why is it doing... There's a for each here that's causing that problem, right? Conf IDs, right? So to do gen, this to do thing is the one that's causing issues. Because this is a different to-do list. It should just look at the last item. It shouldn't give a giant list. It should only just have one. If there's some previous conference ID requests that haven't been fulfilled for whatever reason, they shouldn't be added. So I think here we can improve the implementation and still have the tests running. If we reduce this, we have these, and instead of adding them, what do we do? Okay, so we have the accumulator adding the current event. That's fine. Return the accumulator. We don't want this. I mean, we do want this, but we only want to listen to the last one. I think it's the for each here that's a problem. And say just process the last one. Edit. I think this is what's going to fix our problems. So first of all, did that break our tests? No, everything passes. So the good news is that we can see the to-do list in our sysadmin page still. I gotta finish this up shortly here because I gotta go shopping before the stores become crazy. So let's run this and see if I can actually do the generate conf ID. So here we go. We create one. Okay, good. We don't have a problem now. Notice that we got these two again here. We have a proper request. So let's pretend we're a participant and just go to that URL. And yeah, it seems to accept us here. No change yet, but oh, we have a problem. We don't have that conference name. So that's probably to do with our renaming of the conf ID. Let's double check that we have let's check that we have the right the state view is changed for our conference name. Oh, conference name set. Yeah, so is that something that we... Let's take a look. Let's forget our fake events. And the register mustache has the welcome to conference name. Let's double check that we are getting the conference name. Register, conference name view, get events, conference name state. Yeah, that's the one that might have a problem. Conference name, get the name, it's in the conference. Oh, this thing. That came back. I remember that was an error. So let's go through the whole thing again. Generate conf ID. Let's create a conference. Here's a brand new conference started. Copy that, pretend we're a participant. Paste that in as if we scanned the QR code. There we go. And we do have the proper name. The Atom D register. Cannot get register success, but we did it. And we actually have a registration where type is wrong. Where's the post? Register state. So, okay. Register state, registered event. Okay, wait a second. The type is registered event, but the name is wrong. Okay, so it's here where it stores, it's pushing the event. It's pushing the command instead of the event. Register event is what we need. And here we need the registration ID. Do we have underscores there or dashes? I think we have dashes to separate it from the rest of the name. Or I think that does it on its own. I forget whether the push event puts that in. But we certainly can add conference ID. ID params conference, yeah. And then we also want the name, right? So I'd rather have the name at the beginning. Like that, and then have dashes there. That looks good. Okay, so let's try it again. So the other thing that we could do is we have this common pattern here of executing a command and then pushing the event and catching these. We need to probably have that as part of our boilerplate, since we're going to be doing this type of thing quite often. Yeah, because we always have the intended output event and then pushing the event as a separate thing where we want to do a 422 or a 4. I think every time we create, it's always a 422. And then 500 if there's an issue. So we always want to have these as a return. So it would be nice to break this out into some utility. It's kind of using up a lot of real estate for this stuff. I don't like that. I'd rather have these as much smaller, you know, set of code with the important things such as, you know, what are we doing? With you know, the command that we want, and then what do we want to have in the name? What do we want to say for some of these things? So just parameterize a lot of this stuff here and send it as a one-liner or a function to do the try catches and all of that, and then we can issue the returns in some other way, maybe as a, you know, 2 callbacks, this, a callback for this, callback for this, and yeah, so hopefully we can make something nicer. I could squeeze this code down, at least, you know, have the try on the same line as this and one line all this stuff, but it's just taking up too much real estate. So I think this should work. Let's break this, and I think this, let's just double check that we didn't break any tests. All tests are passing. Good. Let's look at running this from generating the ID again. And so we'll create a new conference. We'll take this as someone scanning a QR code and joining the conference here. It gives us a nice welcome message, and we'll say, Adam, this should be good. And it's successful. Excellent. And so now we also have a much more readable file name for, well, not really that readable. Maybe we should have like the first, trim these IDs, the first 4 characters or something. Because that's a little ridiculous, but also at least it gives me the name, the registration ID, and the conference ID. Might do it the other way around, but again, for inspecting what's happened in the system, you can just really see all of these events and analyze, you know, how you got to some place in a much better way. So I think we're good at this point. Let me just test whether I can go back and register again like that. Error registering new participant. That's not good. You're already registered. Why is it dropping that part of the message? Okay. So register ID. So we have that. We should have this error. I remember yesterday saying that some of these errors should just be on the back end, but if it's a user-based 422 error, well, that's actually, yeah, a 422 error, it should say why. For 500, yeah, definitely not. You want this internal, but for this, it should be better. So yeah, if I break this and try again, I can just go back to this and try to register for Adam again. You're already registered. Okay, good. So I can just go back and try Adam. D, register that. And good. So there it says Adam D, right? Obviously, we're going to have like a crazy looking names here. you probably don't want to do this type of stuff in production. You know, user data directly in unescaped user data in the file names. Probably not the most secure or wise thing to do. But for this fun project, it's good to just have you know, these readable things. So again, we can trim these, right? So trim slice, slice, slice. Okay, so now they're going to be a little bit better where we have these things. Of course, someone can still type in a very long name. We haven't done any of that, but again, always do a pull request to add more to this. So all right, I think this is good. I'm going to come back again in the evening and do some more coding because I really wanted to fix up kind of like where we went to. We now have a system where, you know, we're kind of done this part now. Oops. I think I have to just correct some of these things, but for all of this purpose here, we are actually finished being able to do this. So this I will count as complete. Text we want to be green, that we're finished. And the box we also want green, that we're finished. Right, and then we let's apply that. Let's just close this down. We don't want that. There's other fun things you can do. I mean, you can split this terminal and you can just watch by you know, getting the output of all of these events kind of stream by, which would be kind of neat. Yeah, all sorts of fun stuff. I think Martin has like a entirely in the web page simulation where you see, you know, these events stream by as you're interacting with the system. So it's kind of cool. The fact that the log is the state makes it like, it's a world of difference. This is in no way the same as looking at traditional server logs. This is, you know, looking at the transaction log of a database. Much different than looking at error logs on a server. So that should, okay, so let's update this. Sorry, did we update everything here? Yes. Did we screw anything up in terms of our layers? Layers, oops, layers, let's see, progress, turn off progress. We turn those off. Nothing else disappears. Sometimes I put things on the wrong layer and then I have stuff disappearing. So that's good. We registered as that. We need to do the closing registration that I have marked for myself. Close registration is what I'm going to do tonight. It's going to be very simple compared to this. And then the fun starts really when we get to the topic suggestions and having multiple users suggesting multiple different topics, and then also those same users voting on those topics for what they want to see. And then, of course, creating the schedule by the organizers based on, you know, what people have added to the system. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping that this kind of dumb part of the system here of just setting up the conference and getting registrations going kind of at least got you comfortable with the interaction with the system, just over and over again, just storing yet another event and just projecting what that means. And, you know, getting really familiar with the reduce function in terms of functional programming. The reducer is your friend. You're going to do everything, pretty much everything through a reducer. It's one of the easiest things to do. Just keep, you know, I just got this information. What do I do to my state? How do I change it? And then go, okay, done. I'll do this. And then, okay, go back in again, pass what you have, find the next thing that happened. Okay, how do I adjust my understanding of the system? It's very natural. It's very human-like in terms of thinking, instead of trying to decipher multiple values in different columns and different rows of a database. This is you know, linear story-like thinking for all your problems, which is, you know, way more way easier. I think you can compartmentalize, have, you know, reduced scope for solving a problem bit by bit. You can get overwhelmed a lot of times when building systems like this. So yeah, but let me finish this up and we'll go. Let me just get some drink. Okay. Get some tea for this last part to finish it off. And then I gotta get going. It's pretty hot tea though. And if you've been following over the last few days, thanks so much for paying attention to all of this fun stuff. It's slow, but I think it's more honest to slowly kind of show your thinking patterns of like why you're doing something, and then kind of stuff, you know, seeing someone suffer through the same stuff. I've been doing this for a long time. And so I'm quite comfortable with the decisions I'm taking at each point to do this. But again, I don't code all day long, so I'm not as proficient. So hopefully this gives me a chance to kind of talk and kind of give you the explanations of why this works, and my whole team works this way, but incredibly fast. They're like same thinking, but they do it every day and they go incredibly fast, right? I'm pretty fast at making these diagrams, and there's a lot of tooling. I mean, I've had 3 calls yesterday about automating, you know, this type of diagram, to have AI generated, to have AI generate code from it. Everyone is really in love with this explicit nature of like how you specify a system, because then, you know, AI has a really good idea of what you want, and that's where you kind of defeat a lot of the problems that people have been identifying with artificial intelligence and large language models and the statistical way that it predicts the next thing. It really depends how you prompt it and how that falls in line with how it did other things in code, like how other people did things in code all over the place. And to draw upon the right paths in those LLMs, you really need, you know, really good specs. And this is one of the best ways to get specs out there. So yeah, hopefully you learned something. And if you have questions about this, do let me know in the Discord channel, which you can see the links are there. Just go to eventmodeling.org. There is a resources link to that page, or just go /resources. Again, the book, thanks to Martin for this amazing signed copy of this really, really awesome book that explains kind of what we've been doing for a lot of years, but really good to have a book about it. I suggest that if you're starting a software team or you're starting yourself, get that event sourcing book from Martin on LeanPub. It's $20, super cheap. Still have a few copies I gotta give out. I bought a few more. So let's see. Yeah, so I'm happy with this slice being done. Obviously, we've changed quite a few things. With status, so we have, actually we didn't. We changed the fake event, and we just changed some functionality here. So let's just add everything. Git commit, checking for existing name if registering. What else did we do? We also did the processor now only works off of the last entry in the to-do list. Processor for conf IDs only picks up if we had a traditional to-do list, we would have an ID for each of those rows, and it would kick off a processor for each one. But here you see that the logic we're following in this application only pays attention to the current conference. It doesn't really care if those previous conferences that opened and closed and all that. So we really just want to work off of the latest kind of state. So That's one of the things I kind of missed in the processor, that it was looking at everything. And when we gave this really nasty history, it did kind of throw these extra things. It didn't really break. Like if we continued and went back and gone to the registration page, it would have worked fine. But it's just another thing that's going to cause people to kind of say, well, this system doesn't really work. Why is it throwing me this error? So good to have that fixed up. So process server conf IDs only picks up the last request and ignores previous unanswered requests, right? So that's kind of what we did, and that's, so I can push this, oops, good push. So we have this one here, and I think we should be able to check out the dev branch and integrate it. We probably will have some conflicts, but that's okay. Git merge, and this is the same one. Yeah, we have conflicts, which is great. I'm glad that we have the conflicts, because we will have, yeah, we want this. I remember this from the last time. So we want this incoming change where we actually get the conference ID in the URL. Accept incoming. Yep, that's good. So that one's finished. And then these will be more interesting. The app, this one here. So this is the current change, and we kind of want everything that we did here, right? All of this extra stuff. So we don't want both. Or do we want both? So we have this register ID, join conferences SV. Do we have a join conferences SV here? This is a post. Oh, this is the get. So we want the get. So we want both, and accept both changes. And then we just have to double check this because we want the conference ID in here. So conference name, response, conference name. How do we do it? We did this yesterday. Conference name, state view. I think we just, yeah, I think it's fine just to take the last one. That's essentially the same thing. Oh, we have a response here. Conference name not yet named. Conference ID. So yeah, we don't want that. We want response conference ID, and we don't want that one. That's correct. I think that's the way it goes. Come on, get rid of this. There we go. And get rid of the extra space. Control S. We don't have any other conflicts, so we should be able to run this and just go through the same thing. Create a conference. Pretend that we're new registrant, and I can use the name again because it's a new conference. Perfect. We're not getting the register success. Did we actually? One thing we didn't do yet, I don't think we made a page for the success thing. So we'll have to do that tonight. So we can say, hey, congratulations, you're registered. Click here to add topics for the conference or something like that. Okay, so that's the other nice thing about the event model, is that it kind of keeps you focused on like the next thing to do, the next thing you want to do. You don't have to do it chronologically. You can do it in different pieces, but gives you the tooling to be able to do that properly. So, okay, so we registered correctly. Yeah, you're already registered. Good. So we can register a different person. Adam D. Register. Yeah, good. Okay, so that we saw that come in as a new, right? So we made this conference and then we had these two people register. Okay, so that works. Just double check that our tests still work. They all pass, so this is all good. We can add everything. Just make sure we have what we want. That looks like the right things to change. We can get merge, continue, and that's fine for that. And now we can get checkout and go to the QA branch because I think this is finished. We'll check out the QA branch and then we're going to do a get merge and that's state change. Yeah, register node. It has that. Automatic merge failed. Fix conflicts and results. Staged using repeated resolution. This is, yeah, so see, we had resolved these conflicts while integrating into, while merging into the integration branch, the dev branch. And so, see, fix conflicts. This is, there is no conflicts anymore because they've been resolved, right? If I go to these things, like there's no exclamation points here. No conflict, right? App, no conflict. So, and it's already added things to staging. So I wish they would add some more intelligence into these, into the re functionality in Git to not have these misleading, these misleading fix conflicts and then commit the result. The conflicts are fixed by re. And this should be, somehow coordinated. So there should be, maybe they should do a map reduce on the events that are happening on their workflow. Anyway, I digress. So Git, I think we're done with that, where everything's added. So we can just do git merge, continue, and it's good. Oops, right quit, git push. We have those things done. Git checkout. Did we push the other one? Yeah, we didn't, I don't think. Yeah, we're pushing that one too. Okay, awesome. So everything's done. I'll see you later for another stream to finish up the registration process and then get into the good stuff of suggesting the topics. We should also commit our diagram, right? So we have our event model that we need to update. It's tracked in its own branch, and I have it in a separate Git work tree for that. And then we say updated to show registration slice finish. Just ray and state change slice finished. Good, and so that's going up as well. So everything's committed. Go ahead and try it out yourself. You can see the URL here. Have a fun time with it, and I'll see you later. So thanks again for joining, and we'll see you.